Leti miramba imamira ikhalindiza mwachi nabayokha koma mmene mbiri ya miramba imakhalira leti mutakumba damu apo ziro wakasuka fika uko imakumba
So my name is Fiona Simmance and I am a third year PhD student out of a 4-year PhD, and my PhD investigates the role of capture fisheries to food security, specifically looking at Lake Chilwa in Malawi and how fisheries adapt to climate change.
And hi, I'm Alison Simmance. I'm also a third year PhD student based in the Faculty of Social and Human Sciences. My project's looking at the other supply side of fish in Malawi, so I'm looking at the role of small-scale aquaculture to food security.
We're both quite fortunate, so our PhDs are purposefully complementary. So they're both part of a wider project looking at food security in Malawi, and both Alison and I add the fish component to it. And in the fisheries sector, there's lots of subsectors. One of them is aquaculture, so the farming of fish, which Alison looks at. And then the other one is the wild fish, the capture fisheries. And they're both distinct subsectors, and it's important to understand both of them to understand holistically the contribution of fish to food security.
Yes, I think it's quite important having the sort of two fisheries tells of the story of Malawi and their fisheries sector. We hope that by combining towards the end of our PhDs, both of our findings would also be very interesting to see together what might be the barriers and opportunities within both subsectors, and how can that really help inform future planning. So we had been familiar with the work of WUN, largely through being a PhD student here at Southampton, and through networking and hearing about the lovely opportunities that that they provide for PhD students. But it was largely for our supervisor, Professor Guy Poppy. He visited the conference in South Africa, the World Universities Networks conference there, and it was through that conference that he actually got introduced to a professor from the University of Bergen who specialises in fish. So as soon as the topic of fisheries came up, I believe they were had many fruitful discussions about Fiona's and I's research. The University of Bergen was one of the top universities globally that provides training in both aquaculture and capture fisheries sort of content. And it was quite crucial that through sort of pursuing a placement, it was that one-on-one peer contact with the professor, Jeppe Kolden, but it was also having access while we were at Bergen to a whole suite of other master modules, training facilities that we definitely wouldn't have been able to have access to if we hadn't applied for this placement.
So our first trip to Malawi was a more of a scoping, exploratory trip. And we were very fortunate where we went and did several observations within fishing communities, and the fishing communities were very welcoming indeed. And so on Lake Chilwa, some of the fishermen as well as the fisheries governance officers actually took us out on the lake, and the fishermen showed us some of their fishing practices, and the fisheries officers showed us where the different types of fishing practices, but also showed us crucially where some of the fishermen actually make reed beds into floating mats on the lake, where they actually go and settle for some periods of time to fish remotely. And so it was through these observations and the kind, welcoming approach of the communities that helped me understand the local context, which is important, and you need to do that as a first step before you jump into doing survey work and shape your design. You need to actually really understand the local context. And so that happened during our first phase of research.
Hearing from the realities of those people, you know, living and being so crucially dependent on resources like fisheries, for example. So speaking with the fishermen, speaking with the fish farmers, for both of us was a fundamental aspect of our PhDs. So when we both went to Malawi over the past 2 years and successfully completed our fieldwork, it was very inspiring, and also there was a lot of surprising stories that we learned from the fishermen and fish farmers, and we hope many of those findings we can then translate and relay back to some of the policymakers in particular.
And so the outcomes from our WUN placement, one of the key crucial ones, which is long-term and sustaining, is the fact that Yepe is now part of our supervisory team, and he's our external PhD supervisor. And that's quite crucial because it's meant that we've been able to sustain the technical expertise of Yepe, as well as the global networks. And it's quite important because, as Alison mentioned, as a kind of individual PhD, he's enabled us to really become confident in the contribution of our PhDs, which has been very good. But second, and which has also been a great achievement, is the fact that both of our presentations were accepted at the United Nations conference. And so we both presented at an international conference that was the first of its kind for inland small-scale fisheries. And through that conference, not only did we manage to network with the United Nations officials, but also the government of Malawi was there as well, and their fisheries teams. So we managed to establish the contacts there, and we later did interview them in Malawi, which was very nice indeed. At the conference as well, we put together our observational photographs we turned into a YouTube video. And so we, the United Nations fisheries team kindly put it on display at the conference, and the head of the fisheries department of Malawi was there, and we stood next to him of the video, and he was very proud that we were actually showcasing fisheries in Malawi. So that was really good, because it's not just about us as individuals. Our research is for contributing to the field and helping sustainable management of the fisheries. And it was great that actually we got to meet with the head of fisheries of Malawi there, who was supporting our research, which was one of the pivotal moments really. So yeah, we achieved quite a lot, and I think if it wasn't for WUN, we wouldn't have been able to achieve that or have the confidence to drive it forward. And yeah, it's been fantastic really, hasn't it?
Yeah.